Hello again everyone, thanks for tuning in. Today I'm in Sheringham Park. It's June and I'm wearing a hat because it's absolutely freezing. Hopefully we're going to get some summer at some point over here on the east coast. I know that the west coast of England and the Midlands have been alright, but we've struggled a bit for temperature. Now today's video is going to be about setting yourself a project, and in this case my project is going to be called Ents. Now if you don't know what an Ent is a tree-like person. The trees kind of come to life, the slow, big, heavy, cumbersome things. And I don't know about you, but I've often looked at trees and gone, is there a face there? So that's what I'm going to try and find today. I'm going to use my iPhone because on my iPhone I've got What 3 Words, and on What 3 Words I have marked out several places where there are interesting oak trees. Now there are lots of ancient trees in here, but the oak trees are the gnarly ones that are really interesting to me. So, and they're my second favourite tree after silver birches, I'd say. So we're going to go and find these oak trees. I'm going to hand hold the Z7 II today. Sometimes a tripod's useful to actually help me frame things up and really makes me slow down, but I'm going to just explore around the tree with the Z7, hand holding, using the stabilisation. I'm going to need a wide open aperture anyway, so I'm not so worried about that, and the ISO I'm going to crank that up if I need to. So a nice free day. Hopefully I'll keep it a bit warmer, and what I'm going to do is make these into a series of pictures. I'm going to give them a title which I'll show you at the end. Probably going to be black and white as well. I know we should come out definitely thinking that, and these are going to be pretty monochrome, so I think they're going to be black and white, but I'm not going to limit myself just in case. Right, so as I'm freezing cold, let's go and walk that way to my first location, and I'll show you when I get there. May or June is a great time to come to Sheringham Park because the rhododendrons are out and they are absolutely amazing. I'll show you some more now. These bits I recorded when I was here last time, but wow, the colours. I mean, there's absolutely wonderful historic old parkland. I think it belongs to somebody very, very rich a long while ago. Right, let's carry on. Nearly there. So I'm at my first subject. Look at this old guy. Isn't he wonderful? You can see his arm pointing out of here, and these two eyes, and a bit of a nose going on, and then this enormous hair that he's got. And actually, there could be another one over there. Doesn't look quite so good because this is an oak tree. And oak trees are what you want. That's not an oak tree. I'll tell you that when I get there. It might be an enormous great beech actually. I'm not sure what it is. I'll have a little suss out, but this tree here definitely is my first subject, and actually I think this is probably the place to take it from. So let's get the camera out and I'll have a little shoot of this. What an amazing fella. Okay, so I've changed some of the settings of the cameras I'll just tell you about. So I've gone to aperture priority. I pretty much need the lens wide open. I've got the 24 to 200. Now I can shoot this with pretty much any lens really, because there's a pathway that goes behind you. But I will try, if I can, to use a longer telephoto because I want to try and compress the perspective, make it more two-dimensional. This is what this is going to suit. I've got rhododendrons as a background, which kind of may make me change my mind from the monochrome, but it also may distract from the main subject. So I think monochrome might work better actually. I've just talked myself into it, because if I were to photograph this in colour, your eye is going to go straight to the rhododendrons, whereas if I shoot in monochrome, they're going to be kind of white or cream, which might not be quite so bad, and I can just darken them down a little bit in post-processing. So let's photograph this guy. Gonna get his face in, some of his arm and some of his hair, and let's see what we get. So that's pretty straightforward, handheld as best I could, elbows in, make a nice solid platform, hold it really still, hold your kind of breath, and shoot. That's the best way. I've got some stabilisation on the camera. I've also got some things in Luminar that I can use to get rid of any slight camera shake. I've done a video of that, which I'm just putting together actually, which should be up by the time you see this, so go and have a look at that if that's something of interest. But the textures on this are amazing. By putting the big trunk of the tree in front of the rhododendrons, I'm going to get less distraction in the background. That is pretty much that for this one. So I don't know what I'm going to call him yet. I'll put the photo on the screen now with the name underneath. Let me know if you agree. So this old guy is some kind of nut it's got on it. Some kind of chestnut, I think. Probably can't see that, but it's very small. I think these are chestnuts that are formed, maybe hazelnuts. Don't know. But it's certainly very old. And I don't know why, but as soon as I went over to photograph him, I decided that he was called Bruce. He's got a bit of a face. Normally, as I've said a second ago, oak trees are normally the things I look for this, but actually I quite like Bruce. He's all right. He's just different, misunderstood. Oh, what a lovely walk this has been so far. It's been absolutely brilliant. I mean, these rhododendrons, the smell in here is incredible, really lovely. I think when we came a couple of weeks ago, the flowers were in bloom. They were at their best, but today is a sort of heavy day. There's no wind, there's lots of cloud cover, and the scent is just hanging in on these paths, and it smells amazing, beautiful. Also want to say that this is inspired by the master Joe Cornish, who I went to saw an exhibition of his at Fountains Abbey when we were up that way last year. On the way, funny enough, to shoot the roseberry topping video that you saw, and Joe did lots of pictures of just close-ups of ancient trees and gnarly old oaks, I think they were. And I've often thought, and I'm not just saying this, I've often thought about photographing the bottom of trees and those little kind of bits of fern and grass and holes, maybe like places where fairies and pixies live. That's kind of always been my imagination. I've never really had the courage to photograph it and publish it, but I think someone like Joe doing that and having that as an exhibition has given me a bit more confidence with that, and I think it's good to recognise the people that you influence, who influence you, because I'm not sure there's anything totally original in this world, really. Everything's been inspired by something or someone, and I believe in giving full credit to that. So the next location is about 60 metres that way, according to What Three Words. So let's go and photograph that. It's still a lovely dull day, which is fine for this. And not a soul about, just the birds. Oh, wow, wonderful. Right, let's get on. Look at that. What a beautiful tree. How many hundreds of years old is that? I'm not going to go any closer because this fence is obviously there for a reason. But you know what I said about black and white? Well, forget it for this, because we've got these lovely delicate violets and purples of these rhododendrons behind this lovely old oak tree, and it looks just amazing. Got two trunks split out. Look at the texture in those that bark, it's absolutely amazing. Really love this. Might even try and do a pan of this, but I think what I'll probably end up doing is doing a wider shot, and I'm going to crop this 65-24, and it's going to be a colour picture. I can just see it in my head now. It's just the most marvellous thing. What a day we're having. Right, let's get the camera out. So I've shot that at 4.8 on a 90th of a second, and also f8 at a 20th of a second with some stabilisation, so it should still be okay. I've taken it from way back behind you because there's a big clearing here, which is so easy to use. I'm just going to crop it as a 65-24, and I'm trying to pick up these lovely subtle rhododendron flowers and contrast it with the oak tree. I feel like she should be called Daphne, but she's lovely. Right, next one. Wow, wow, look at that. I've seen this tree before loads of times, and every single time I see it, it's like, what an amazing tree. Wow, he's been in a battle. This old limb, big bough has fallen and crashed down to the ground, and there's other bits all the way around it, and he's got dead branches. But look how high he goes, look how wide he is. Must be so old, this tree. It's just the most amazing thing. Fence here. I feel like I could maybe, not going to cause any harm if I go here, but I'm just going to have a little look around this and see how I photograph it and see what I'm going to do with him. But he's just immense. So I found a really interesting viewpoint actually. Using the 24mm, so I'm using wide angle with this, and just going to rest on this log here, and the shot is going to be a sweeping shot following the line of this broken bough around the bottom, and then the old tree looks really kind of evil. It looks like he's got horns growing out of him. So black and white treatment, definitely make this dramatic. I think it looks wonderful, so let's have a go at this. I quite enjoy using the viewfinder, but actually, to be fair, I don't really need it for this. Just going to use the screen. So level it up. Again, leveling doesn't really matter. The most important thing for this is to get into this tree. Now, there's two broken branches. Both have got some lovely texture to them. I'm just going to focus up on the main man himself, and that is a 30th f8 at 800 ISO, which is absolutely fine. I think I might just take the ISO down a bit, because this could end up as a big print. Let's have a look. What have we got? That's an 1/8 of a second now. So I'm just going to come down the aperture a bit, a 15th of a second with stabilisation, and it's on this tree trunk. That should be sharp as a pin. So again, make sure it's focused. Hold your breath, hold it really still, and gently squeeze. That, I think, is going to look really nice. Right, see if I can find a few more of this, then we'll move on to the final picture. Look at this wonderful, wonderful fallen tree. I don't know what it was originally, but it's just, look at the texture in here and the lines, and I love the contrast of the brown wood and this kind of bare trunk with these ferns and this bracken that's sitting here, and it goes right, you probably can't see, but it goes right the way along here, and right in the distance we've got an ancient oak tree and its sister standing in a little gap. So let me show you what I've done. I've photographed this already, and I'm going to step to this side a little bit so you can see, and I'm going to put on the screen here what I saw through the Z30, because I actually shot this on the Z30. The reason for that is, as you know, I didn't bring a tripod with me today, which now turns out to be a little bit of a foolish mistake, but the Z30 mount, so the camera that you're on, the tripod that you're on, has got a different mount to it. So I thought, well, it's a 20 megapixel camera, it's my backup camera, so I've shot this picture with the camera that you're on now. Still like it. And what I've tried to do is get that old oak tree just in the gap at the top there, and the bottom of these ferns in, and I think that works really, really well. But what a wonderful, wonderful thing this is. It's not covered in moss really, it's covered in moss a little bit here, but this green, there's a bit of moss in here. Oh, I hope I haven't just, I think I've just sat on that bit of fern, that's a shame. But I actually really like the textures and the shapes of this, and it's about getting low and trying to get the oak tree in. So let me put those on the screen in a second and see what you think. So why should photographers give themselves a project? I've called this, thank you, I've called this Ents, and I photographed a few Ents as far as I'm concerned today, but actually my photographs have gone back more into woodland, and that is fine. I don't feel that I need rules. I can walk into a beautiful woodland like this and just enjoy and photograph things that interest me, and I'm sure you're the same. But if you're stuck in a little bit of a rut, you're not sure what to photograph, there's two things I often do. Number one, buy a new piece of equipment, which obviously has its limitations as many times as you can do that. But I remember when I bought my first drone, I'd lost my mojo completely, bought a drone and was just using it all the time, so that allowed me to enjoy the hobby. Buying new equipment often does that. And the other thing that I found works in the past is to give yourself a title, give yourself a project. So for instance, this one is going to be called Ents, and I'm going out specifically looking for that kind of picture that fits the brief, and that's where competitions, magazines, challenges can really, really help you. You could challenge yourself to produce 3 prints from a certain location. You could challenge yourself to produce 3 prints from or a triptych with the same subject matter. It could be colour, it could be abstract, it doesn't really matter. These Ents are going to be an ongoing project for me. I'm going to spend a load of time in woodland. I really, really enjoy it, and if I see other Ents, then I will add them into this folder, and at the end of this hopefully we'll have a body of work. But for me, it's this that I enjoy, being out here with the birds and the trees and just having a great time. enjoying the peacefulness is a wonderful thing. And the photographs are, for me, the icing on the cake. They're the pinnacle. To produce a print that captures this is what I like to do. So let's have a look at the Ents that I've managed to photograph today, along with their names. So I'm going to call it a day there. Thanks ever so much for tuning in. It's been the most marvellous day. I'm going to fall off here if I'm not careful. This National Trust do a great job, and this ancient woodland has been the most fun. I've really enjoyed it. Normally when I'm here there's lots of people about looking at the rhododendrons, and it's been very nice to be here on a Tuesday early in the morning. I've seen 2 dog walkers and some National Trust people doing some work. Other than that, just the birds and me. So a wonderful day. So thanks ever so much then for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I'll see you next Sunday at 6 p.m. There may be a one-shot Wednesday on Wednesday, depending on what I've been up to, but I'm hoping that will be the case. So tune in for that. Thanks ever so much for all your support. If you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. It doesn't cost any money, just a couple of clicks of the button. I'm trying to get to 1,000. I'm nearly at 500. So thanks ever so much if you have subscribed, and I will see you next time. Until then, take care of yourselves. Goodbye.